Well, hey there, friendships. Welcome back to another Curtis's Corner. If you are new here, hi, I'm Curtis. This is my corner, and on today's Film Friday, I have something special for you, as you probably saw from the title. Today is a double feature movie review. Never done one of these before. I've done one where I've released a movie review one day and then released it the next day, but this is the first video where I'm releasing two film reviews in the same video. So, I ended up going to the theater on Tuesday because theaters are now open, as I said in my last review for Black Widow, which if you've missed that, you can go ahead and click right up there and check that out. But I ended up going to see Fast and the Furious 9 and Space Jam 2: A New Legacy. We're going to dive into it. We're going to chit-chat. We're going to talk about both movies, and then I'm going to give you my ratings on both movies, as well as which movie I think benefits from you spending your money on more than the other. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts and finding out which movie you should watch this weekend, well, then keep on watching. First film that I ended up seeing was Fast and the Furious 9. Now, I'm going to admit, when I first started this entire series, I was kind of against it. The first film I ever saw was actually the third one, Tokyo Drift, which was alright. I'm not a big race car doing drag races and all that, unless we're talking about RuPaul. But otherwise, I'm not into all that kind of stuff. But I gave it a shot. I enjoyed the third one. Started to watch the first one, got bored of it halfway through, turned it off. Gave it a second shot and watched the entire series. I like the whole series. I will say the first three films are very much Brian, who's the cop who goes undercover to like bust this group of people who end up joining them instead, and so on and so forth. The first three films are relatively believable. You can pretty much assume that what happens in the films could potentially happen in real life. Then we get into Fast and Furious 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and Hobbs and Shaw, the spin-off. All of those, it's very much turned into like a Mission Impossible movie with racing between cars, but then also like there's jets now, and there's tanks, and there's like 16-wheelers and motorcycles. Like there's a whole bunch of other like modes of transportation. Some of the things potentially could happen. A lot of the stuff, you have to kind of suspend your belief in order to kind of accept it. Fast and the Furious 9 takes this whole entire journey to a whole other level. To the point where I did not like this movie at all. I found each movie, action-wise, kept getting better and better and better and better. Story-wise, the plot throughout the entire series, for the most part, pretty much kept getting better and better and better. Some hit or miss here and there, but for the most part, it kept getting better. This one, the plot was very They do this little like weird tease in the movie where it makes it seem like Dom's brother dies and now he's somehow back and against him, but it's not actually his brother, it's his father. And this is also the first time that anyone in the Toretto family, or even of his friends, has ever mentioned a brother. So it's like, okay, let's just shove a random family member into this movie. Charlize Theron is back as Cypher. She's extremely useless in this film. She had such a huge part, and I was excited to see where they were going to go with her character in this film from the 8th to this one. She literally got entirely sidelined for some weird, preppy-looking 40-year-old man. Whether he's actually 40, I don't know. He's, like, dressed like he's, like, a freshman in college and doing all these parties. It's like, he's got this, like, perfectly coiffed blonde hair. I'm just, no, you don't fit this. They subbed her out for this guy as the new villain, along with John Cena as Jacob Toretto, which is Dom's brother. Not great villains at all in this entire film. They also were trying to do a whole lot of like backstory onto why we're just kind of finding out about his brother and where he was all this time and what happened in Dom's past to make his brother and Dom hate each other. And when I tell you that for the entirety of my lifespan that I've known about Vin Diesel, I could have sworn he was just a very tanned white man. According to this film, he is black, or at least mixed race. But that being said, there's things about his character previous that don't add up. All three actors are mixed race. However, the tones and the complexion of their skin are all vastly, extremely different. You have the youngest actor portraying Dom when he's like prepubescent is darker than the one that you mainly see who's at the racetrack, who does his first race and all that stuff. He's way lighter, but he's also darker than Vin Diesel himself. Vin Diesel is, like I said, I always thought he was just a straight up white man with a tan. If you're going to do this, try and get someone or some people who are the same skin tone as your main actor, so that way you can have the continuity of it being the same person. The second actor, like the one who plays the younger version of him mostly, does kind of resemble him. And I don't know if they did like dubbing and like a pitch shift where he just kind of mouthed the words, or if it's actually his voice, but they sound very similar as well. But they're not the same tone of skin. And that kind of bothered me. The fact that you have three different skin tones portraying one person. And it's just, it's mind-blowing to me how, with a world full of people, you can't find someone who's very similar in skin tone to the main actor in this entire franchise. But we're going to move on from that and also get into the fact that the entire time you have Jacob, the little actor, when they were prepubescent, shorter than Dom, like that. Then when they're grown up and taller, I would say Dom would be mid-20s at this point. Maybe early 20s, but like late early 20s. And then Jacob would probably be like 20, 21, I would say. Maybe, if we're pushing it, 19. And still, a good like foot and a half difference between the top of the head to the top of the head. Dom still being taller. Then we get to Vin Diesel and John Cena, and they're literally eye to eye. Jacob, how did you grow? Your character should have been done growing at the age that we had been seeing you the entirety of this time before John Cena. So how did you grow an entire foot and a half if your body should have, you plateau at a certain age? They should have gotten an actor who was shorter than Vin Diesel. Even if he did grow slightly shorter, not the same height. The storyline was all over the place. The motive was trash. Absolute and utter trash. There was basically none. Like I said, Charlize Theron's character of Cypher is completely sidelined, zero growth from her, completely useless, didn't even have to be in the film. Literally, you remove her from the film, it's the same film that we'd been watching the whole time. They have now combined 4 genres of movies that they have now combined into one film. And 5. So, let's break it down, shall we? We have characters who show up from previous movies, like Mia. Mia comes back from, like, the first movie, and maybe the 7th. I think she was in the 7th. But when I tell you the work she's had done, she looks like how she did. Like, granted, it's great work on her face. She looks like how she did in one, as if she's never aged a day. And because of that, she can't really properly emote. It's very plastic and just stretched across. So that's a bit upsetting. Letty has never looked better. Michelle Rodriguez, like, perfection in this film. Natalie Emmanuel as Ramsey, she was one of my actual, like, favorites in this entire film. Her acting is great. And I just like her character. Her character's funny, but she was the only amusement, aside from Michelle Rodriguez, that I got out of this. Tyrese Gibson as Roman, he's back. His character is honestly, I liked him in number 2. I liked him in some of the other films that he was in, but it's like his character is just, it's dumb now. Now let's get into a little bit more of, by the way, yes, it's a different day. I have dyed my hair. We're not going to talk about it. I like it. It's fun. But we're not going to talk about it. We'll address it in Monday's video. We're just going to ignore this and the randomness that this is right now, and we'll address it on Monday. Got it? Okay, thank you for playing along. In the trailers for Fast and Furious 9, you see that they're bringing in all these other characters from the past movies. Now, they don't show you everybody that's in this film, but one person that they do show is Han. Now, if you don't remember, let me refresh your memory. Han came in, as I recall, to the series in the third one, where he gets into a car accident, his car flips, it blows up, and he dies. Then they do Fast and Furious 4, which is a prequel to 3. So the timeline itself, movie-wise, it goes 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 3, 7, 8, Hobbs and Shaw, and then 9. So we find out that Han was actually part of the whole group in 4 with 5 and 6. We find out that it was actually Shaw, Jason Statham's character, who drove the car into Han's car and blew him up. But now he's back in this one, and everyone's like, what's happening? They give just a complete and utter BS reason as to how he's alive, just basically retconning everything that we knew about this character, so that's fun. They do so many flashbacks that it does take away from the story of F9 itself and how they're moving forward. Chris Stuckman, I watched his review, and this was after I had already made up my mind about how awful this movie was. Spoiler alert, it's awful. I completely agree with him. It's definitely a film that was made to set up the future films. It is not a Fast and the Furious film. It's almost like a parody of itself. It's just everywhere and nowhere all at the same time. Like I said at the beginning, multiple genres. You have Letty and Mia, who end up going to Tokyo to find a clue about this device. Which, also, by the way, Chris on 3C Films, he ended up saying, which I didn't even realize because I don't have the memory to retain the information of all the movies combined, but because he's such a diehard fan of these films, and he was also disappointed with this film, he said that literally the premise of this film was the premise of the 7th one. The 7th one, they had to get a device, and the only way to activate the device was by another person, which ended up being Ramsey, who ends up joining the group, who's my favorite character, honestly, aside from Letty. This one, they need to find a device, and in order to activate the device, they need a person, and it's literally the same thing. It's very sci-fi heavy with the device that they need to find and put together and activate in order to take over basically the entirety of the world. Weapons of mass destruction, bank account, you name it, anything that's connected by a satellite and uplinks with this device, you're able to control that. I think that's a little ridiculous and such like an overpowered device to have in a movie that's supposed to be like fun, but they tried to make it serious while also trying to make it super funny and also trying to make it meta, which it failed on everything. Getting back, actually, when they're in Tokyo, there's this whole entire fight scene, and I felt like I was watching, like, The Karate Kid or Mortal Kombat. There's literally people coming out, and they're, like, swords and karate moves, jujitsu moves, I don't even know. But just a lot of martial arts is happening. And I'm like, this is not a martial arts film. This is a race car film that's turning spy film. You have, obviously, the race car aspect. You have the Mission Impossible aspect. And then you have the probability of literally everything. Small, slight spoiler warning, although, like Chris Stuckman said, he talked about it briefly. It was basically just a quick, maybe minute that he's focused on it, which I'm also going to do. If you don't want to know anything about the film, that's like, it's not super spoilery, but you could consider it as being a spoiler. Mute it, and I will give you a thumbs up when I am all done talking about it. So, mute now. They go to space. I'm not even joking with you. They literally meet up with Sean and Twinkie from the third one, and somehow get some, like, beat-up car, strap a rocket to the roof of it, and not only that, they're not even wearing spacesuits. They're wearing scuba gear with duct tape. If you actually went into space, you would die. Instantly. I'm sorry. But they choose to go to space on this car with a rocket strapped to its roof in scuba gear. What? I'm done talking about the spoilery area now. It's just, all of the throwbacks and, like, to try and connect all these films were not good. Everyone was just literally thrown in there to be thrown in there. Like I said, in the spoilery area, this is not a spoiler. Don't worry, I'm just telling you extra characters that do show up who have no purpose in this film. Literally zero purpose. Sean and Twinkie. They have zero purpose in this film, aside to just be cameos and like, whoa, okay, they're connecting it to the third now. And what Chris from 3C Films also said was, which I didn't know, this film was supposed to be taking place 5 years after Tokyo Drift. So why do Sean, like, Twinkie didn't really age at all, but why does Sean, who was, I think, just graduated college? I want to say just graduated college. Maybe it was high school. I can't remember what he said. But he just graduated in Tokyo Drift, and it's supposed to be 5 years later, but it looks like he's aged 15 years. It does not look 5 years. I'm sorry, but it does not. So, and like, Tokyo Drift came out in 2006. So, it shows that it's not just 5 years. It shows that it's quite some time. So, timeline's wrong on that. It's just a really bad movie altogether. And then, on top of that, they give the stupidest twist turn of events where, again, you know what, I'm gonna go into spoiler area again, so mute it and I'll give you another thumbs up. They pull the family trope card, where John Cena's villain character turns good in the last, like, 5 minutes of the film for literally no reason. So, that was a complete and utter, just, awful. Some of the action scenes, like the car chase scenes and all that, were really well done. I will say that. There's some high points. Some of the acting by some of the characters were great. Otherwise, it was laughable. And then my final thing, none of the stunts are believable. This is my final point. None of the stunts are believable at all. Okay? Roman, Tej, and Ramsey, they're all in, like, this one car, and they're going over a wooden plank rope bridge that's linking one island that they're on across an entire gap that if you walked it would probably take you a good 15 to 20 minutes to walk across. And as they're going across, it starts collapsing behind them to the point where they're almost there and the bridge falls down, completely demolishes, yet they still somehow are able to defy the laws of physics and drive up it and over to safety. Then, as you see in the trailers, when Letty and Dom are in a car and they're driving, they see that the bridge is gone, so what does Dom do? Hits on the gas and floors it into the pole that's holding a rope, turns the wheel so it clips under his wheel, and somehow a free-falling metal car is caught by a rope and wood that's pegged into the ground on the other side and able to bungee them across the ravine to safety. What? That makes zero sense. That should never happen in real life. And they now have superpowers. So not only are cars able to just catch people when they're falling many, many feet into the air onto metal like nothing ever happens, and they're just like, oh, thanks for saving me. But they literally are being thrown out windows, off buildings, whatever, through literal walls. There's a point where John Cena picks up Vin Diesel's character of Dom and just holds him up and runs with him, and the back of Dom's head crashes through stone wall in a house. And he's just like, oh, ow, and gets up and not a single scratch on him. Then continues to punch Jacob and throw him into, like, I don't know, a bookshelf or something, and then he gets scratches, and then he gets beat up one more time. Oh, and now there's a scratch on his face. There's another scene where Jacob is fighting this big, giant security guard guy, and they're on top of a moving truck on, like, the highway, and the highway sign is coming, which is supposed to be a metal sign, by the way. And this big ape of a guy, back of his head, boom, right through the sign, and he's just like, oh, and then continues to fight like nothing ever happened. What? That makes no sense. Why are all these people overpowered? It makes no sense. And the one thing that really extremely lost it for me within the superpowers is there's a scene where Dom is being surrounded by all of these different, like, evil agents, and in order to get away, he grabs these two chains and, no lie, literally pulls on them, and the entire scaffolding of this entire building that they're in collapses and breaks and just destroys all the metal pathways that they're on, making him plunge into a watery area down below. How are you all of a sudden Superman? So needless to say, this is my least favorite Fast and Furious movie. It is garbage, okay? So I'm giving Fast and the Furious a D. Do not spend your money on this movie. I can promise you that. Do not. If you want to watch it, wait until it's free. Wait till it's free to watch. Don't spend your money on it. Moving along to Space Jam 2 now. Change background. Space Jam 2. Or Space Jam: A New Legacy is the follow-up to Space Jam with Michael Jordan back in the day. Now, so Space Jam came out in 1996, and it was a fantastic film. So good. You could watch it over and over and over again, and it never gets old. Space Jam: A New Legacy takes it to the next level, where it is now LeBron James in the title role. Looney Tunes are all back. LeBron has this child in this film where he wants him to play basketball, go to basketball camp, but all the kid wants to do is just focus on his video game that he's building. He's 12 years old, and he's building his very own video game, and really wants to go to, like, a video game camp where you build video games and present them to everybody and hopefully get, like, a scholarship type thing to advance yourself in the world to make money off of video games, which I think is pretty cool. They get trapped inside of this world by Don Cheadle's character called Algae Rhythm, which is a play on words for algorithm, and makes them play a basketball game. Now, the only thing is, instead of it being normal basketball, they have to play the version of basketball that his son made for the video game, where there's a whole bunch of special rules and different power-up points, and you just get, like, style points and, like, actual basketball points and just, like, special moves, and you just get bonus points for literally anything and everything. So he has to go around and come up with a team. Now, we see in the trailer that there's gremlins. We see that there's the Iron Giant, and just like a whole bunch of well-known characters that belong to the property of Warner Brothers. So he starts making this list. He wants King Kong. He wants Superman. He wants Batman. He wants the Iron Giant. And Bugs is like, yeah, okay, we'll go and get them. Because Bugs is actually now the only one that's in Toon World. Toon World got abandoned by all the Looney Tunes to go off into all these different worlds. So we actually end up going to different worlds and seeing how they're interacting in these new worlds. So we end up going to, like, DC World, and in the Batman animated series and the Superman animated series, we see that Daffy Duck and Porky Pig are there, trying to be the next Superman. But it's not going well, so they get them. We have a Wonder Woman comic that Lola's in. I believe there's like a Casablanca scene. There's a whole bunch of different films that they're bringing back. I think my favorite one was when they did Austin Powers. It was great. They did the whole scene where Dr. Evil was meeting Mini-Me for the very first time. And when they opened up the door, instead of it being Mini-Me, it was actually Elmer Fudd. And I loved it. It was so good. There's so many jokes in this too. My only real bad critiques are it felt rushed in certain parts, especially mainly at the beginning when they're trying to get the whole team, like the Toon Squad, back together and trying to round everyone up to come and help LeBron beat Algae Rhythm. It felt very rushed where they were going to world to world to world and just like very chaotic. In that sense, it made the third to first half very rushed feeling, and the good part of the movie was when they were actually, as a team, playing basketball. Space Jam, the original, had a better formula, I found. While there was parts where it seemed slower, they fleshed out characters more, they elaborated on the story, and they had a stronger story, I found, in this one, where it was a struggle between playing basketball and playing golf. And he wanted to do both, but he still had the love for basketball, but he was done with it. He didn't want that anymore, all that stuff. This one, it's all son needs to do basketball and only basketball because that's how LeBron was raised. He only did the work. He didn't have time for fun. If he wanted to do good in life, he had to do the work. Otherwise, he wasn't going to get anywhere. And that was basically what he was trying to do to his son, but that's not what his son wanted. And his wife, who's played by Sonequa Martin Green, who's Sasha from The Walking Dead, she tells him he doesn't need a coach. He needs a father. And then eventually, he does realize this. Obviously, you know the ending. The good guys are going to win. It's a no-brainer. It's a kids' movie. It's very entertaining. They have lots of humor for both kids and adults. I totally was laughing in the movies, and I went to go see it by myself, so I probably looked weird, just laughing with no one else around me. But it is a very good film. They do some callbacks where it's like, oh, you know, someone does something, it's like, oh, well, this seems familiar. There's a scene where Bugs is like, he's actually talking to Lola, and he's like, we need you to come back, we need to do a basketball game, we need to, like, beat the bad guy against the basketball game, and Lola's response was basically, yeah, I've been there, I've done that already, it's fine, I don't need to do that again, thanks though. So it's like, okay, so they're still, like, recalling everything that has already happened in the past. I do like the upgrades that they do get where they go from cartoons because to like a CGI character or like real life characters, because I found the cartoons were too crisp. You know how like the new cartoon style is very, very crisp? It's not as raw as it was in Space Jam, the original one. It's very, very like clean, crisp cartoon. It's like it's too high definition for its own good. That's the only thing really I didn't like about like the cartoon aspect, but the CGI of bringing them into the real world was really good. I like all the texture for like Lola and Bugs and that giant red monster. Super good. And when they actually play the basketball game, half of the crowd is just like random citizens in the real world that end up getting like sucked in. But the other half of the audience is all of these many, many, many different Warner Brother property characters. You see characters from Mad Max Fury Road. You see literally Pennywise is there. You see Batman from like, and Robin from the Adam West days. You see Catwoman as like Michelle Pfeiffer. You see the Penguin from the Tim Burton one. You see, so many characters. Iron Giant, King Kong you see. And just a whole bunch more. I don't want to spoil how many because it's really great to like look around and be like, oh, I know that character. I recognize that character. I recognize that character. I recognize that character. So nostalgia-wise, for all of these characters showing up in this one film, fantastic. Nostalgia-wise, for it just being a Space Jam and Looney Tunes movie all together, well done. The enjoyment rating on this, fantastic. You will not be disappointed, I don't think, in this film at all, because I was not disappointed. Was it fantastic? Absolutely not. Comparatively to F9, 100%. Give it a Golden Globe comparatively. Jeepers. But that's just my little quick short review on Space Jam: A New Legacy. I'm going to give Space Jam: A New Legacy a B+. It is a fun family adventure movie. If you want to go out and watch it, I don't think you will regret spending your money on this movie. And like I said, if you were to go out between Space Jam and F9, if those are your choices, go see Space Jam. I'm telling you right now, go see Space Jam. Especially if you are a Fast and Furious fan, you will be extremely disappointed seeing F9. Take your money and go and see Space Jam. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed my double feature movie review. If you did, give this video a like. Don't forget to hit subscribe, because I put out weekly videos, and hit that notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video, because if you don't, how else are you going to know when I post a video? You won't, so do it. Leave me some comments down below letting me know your thoughts on Fast and Furious 9, letting me know your thoughts on Space Jam, if you've seen both, if you want to see both, if you want to see one over the other, if my review has changed your opinion on any of the movies. Let me know down below. I read your comments, I comment back if I can. Okay? I promise I do. You can ask anyone who watches my channel. I do. Now, I am going to get ready because I'm going out. And I'm going to go and watch Old by M. Night Shyamalan. And a review for that will be out next Friday. Stay tuned for Monday's video where I try some makeup hacks. I'm excited. But until then, bye friendships.